Hey guys, it's Ashley and welcome back after a brief stint away. I just took some time off because I was in a major reading motivational slump. If you have seen my last vlog that I put up, you will know that already. But yeah, I'm back and here to tell you about the whopping 3 books that I managed to read this month, because for the first 3/4 of the month I didn't read anything, and then in the last week of the month I read everything. So here we go. Despite though only reading 3 books compared to like the 8 to 12 that I've been averaging ever since like June or July, I really did enjoy this month because 2 out of the 3 books were some of my like most anticipated like need to read before the end of the year books, so I'm really happy that I got to them. The first one that I'm going to be talking about is one of those books, and that is Hollowpox: The Hunt for Morrigan Crow by Jessica Townsend. You guys, if you have not hopped on this series yet and you want to, now is the perfect time to do it, because Hollowpox is the 3rd book in the series and it covers the first 3-book arc that Morrigan goes through in the entire series as a whole. If I haven't talked about this already on my channel, I read in an interview with Jessica Townsend that she plans on this series being 9 books, as in 3-book character arcs for Morrigan, if that makes sense, or story arcs, or whatever you want to call it. So this basically rounds out the first arc of the story, and it is phenomenal. This book is so much better than I had anticipated it was going to be, because not only is it just this, you know, wacky, wonderful world that you're being thrown into again, and it's just absolutely amazing. But not only that, there are so many things in the story that parallel the real world, and not only just like the world as a whole, but like 2020 specifically. Without going into too many spoilers here, Hollowpox, if you didn't realize this like I didn't before I read the book, is actually a disease that sort of runs rampant, but only through certain people in Nevermore, which then leads to prejudice about said disease and towards said people. So, like, come on! I'm not trying to say that any of that is a good thing by any means whatsoever, but just the fact that this book that she had planned well before this year, right, had contained all of these things in it, and is just, it's just the perfect time to release this book, because you're getting all of those horrible, horrible things mixed in with Morrigan and her wonderful world and Jupiter North and you know, all of the people that you know and love, and it's just a really, really good book. Oh my god. Also, there are like multiple twists and turns that I was just not expecting, especially toward the end when, you know, I knew it was coming, but at the same time, like, I didn't know how it was going to happen. But yeah, please hop on this series. It's amazing. It's the Nevermore series. I talk about it constantly, and I will forever be talking about it until I read all 9 books or I stop making videos, because it's wonderful. It's amazing. I love it so much. I'm literally going to reread this entire series again next year because I'm just obsessed with it, and that's as much as I'm going to talk about this. I'm just going to move on now. Now, the next book that I read this month was my Patreon book club pick of the month, and everybody chose Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie Maniscalco, and this was a book that I had not heard of before somebody recommended it as our book club pick. If you don't know what this story is about, in its most basic terms, there are these 2 twins, Amelia and Victoria. They are witches, and one day in a string of witch murders, her twin sister dies, and so Amelia takes it upon herself to try to figure out who murdered her, and ends up calling on a prince of hell because all this stuff that's happening revolves around them, and the story goes from there, because I don't really want to say that she enlists his help in finding her sister, because they do that for a little bit and then it sort of just like spirals out of control and she does it by herself. Yeah. But anyway, so this book was definitely my least favorite book of the month, though I can't say that it would have been any month like that, because the other 2 books that I read were absolutely phenomenal and blew me away. So, I mean, it was competing with some tough challengers here. Yeah, the most that I will say is that I was not as crazy about this book as I thought I was going to be. So the story is sort of like historically set. It's got like this dark magic sort of thing, European, Italian sort of vibes going on because they're in Italy. And it's like, you know, the whole atmosphere is really great, but the characters, not crazy about them. the dialogue really was not crazy about them. Basically, like, this story had so much potential, but just went down the alley of, you know, very cliche, tropey YA story from like years ago that you still sometimes see often. But this story really just like brought me back to all of it. I didn't hate it, but I also didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I was going to, which is totally fine. You win some and you lose some, and this was just not a perfect win for me. But I know that Carrie Maniscalco also writes the Stalking Jack the Ripper series, I believe, so if you have not read that and you want to get into her books, probably start there. Don't start with this one. It's not my favorite, and I've heard really good things about the other one. And so the last book that I read in this wrap-up is one that you guys may already know that I read based on my Instagram stories surrounding the book, because it took me on an emotional roller coaster ride, and I was just not prepared, even though I tried to prepare myself as best as I could, and I just wholeheartedly failed. And before I get any further with that, that book is The Toll by Neal Shusterman. Yes, I finally read it. It took me a month and a half, almost 2 months, but I finally got to it. I will be making a full book talk for this book literally right after I film this video. I'm going to go and film it because this book is still fresh in my mind. I still have a very open wound because of it, and I'm just not ready to move on from it yet. So hopefully by making that video, I'll be like, you know, getting the closure that I need and we'll be able to move on to other things. But in the meantime, here are some general thoughts of what I thought about the book. No, actually, to be honest, I really don't have any words and thoughts about this book because it was just so good. It blew my expectations out of the water. I knew certain things were going to happen and I was not prepared for it, and when they came, I was just in tears, I was sobbing. And I know that some people told me that they weren't crazy about the ending of this story, and I just have to say I really liked it, though I definitely do not think that Rowan deserved all of that bullshit just to end that way. Something that I did like about this book is how we hopped between, you know, different characters and different points of view, but in the beginning, before we actually knew what was going on, we were actually hopping between time periods as well, which is something that I thought was really sneaky of Neal Shusterman. And because I have the Barnes & Noble, oh my god. Because I have the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition, it gives you a chapter by chapter notes section from Neal Shusterman as he like goes through the book and tells you what he was thinking while he was writing, which was really, really cool and helpful. So I went back through and I read them, and something that he mentioned was that he purposely didn't include what time of the year it was when we were bouncing back and forth, because he wanted you to feel the same shock as Citra did when, you know, that part of the book happened. It's so hard not to give spoilers for this book or for Thunderhead. Oh my god. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed that. I love, you know, bouncing perspectives, bouncing times, multiple character perspectives. I love those sort of stories. They just throw you for a loop and it's just a great time. So I absolutely loved this book with all of my heart, and this is definitely the best book that I've read so far this year. I'm not even going to exaggerate. This is going on the top of the list unless I read an even better book. Like, I can't explain to you how much I love this book. I'm just gonna stop talking and move on, and if you want to hear more of my thoughts, you can watch my book talk for it. And if you have not read the Scythe series, or it's called the Arc of a Scythe series, please read it. I love it. It's so good. It's definitely one of my favorite series of all time now. I'm trying to convince everybody in my family to read it, and it's not going so well, but they're going to read it at some point, I promise you. And that's all I gotta say. That's all I'm gonna say, because I could talk about this book for years. And so those are the 3 books that I ended up reading in November. Like I said, not a horrible reading month because I did get to Hollowpox and The Toll, which were 2 books that I told you guys I was planning on reading before the end of the year, and I did it. Woo! Now I can't promise that any of those other books that I mentioned are going to be read before the end of the year, but who knows? I'm probably not going to do a TBR this month because I just got out of a slump and I really don't want to stick to any sort of rigidity and, you know, try to mess with that at all. So we're just gonna see what happens. If you had a really good book that you read in November, definitely let me know down below. I know a lot of people have been telling me that they were in a like major slump in November for some reason. Like, I feel like the entirety of quarantine and like this year as a whole, you know, most of us have been pretty productive and like getting stuff done, you know? And now that like November and the end of the year is here, I feel like we're all just hitting like a wall and we're just like, nope, not happening anymore. Just want to go to sleep and wake up in 2021. So I think that is everything for this video, you guys. If you want to follow me on any of my socials, all of my handles are in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you later. Bye.